The number of employed people in South Korea stood at nearly 28 million last month. This is an increase of 108,000 on year, but it's a significant slowdown as it marks the smallest growth in 13 months. The Health Ministry announced its plan to gradually raise the medical school quota over the next 5 years by an average of 668 seats per year, starting in 2027. But doctors groups say the measure falls far short of providing a real solution to shortages in regional and essential healthcare. South Korean figure skater Cha Jun-hwan ranked 6th in the men's single short program, earning him a season-high score. This secures his place in Friday's free skate, where the top 24 competitors will compete for medals. Hello and thanks for joining us on Arirang News. We begin today with South Korea's job market that hit a speed bump to start the year. The number of employed people grew by just over 100,000 in January, the smallest increase in 13 months. While a severe cold snap shrank jobs for the elderly in agriculture, the slump in youth employment and the manufacturing sector continues to drag down the figures. Our Kim Do-yeon reports.
The latest employment data shows South Korea's job market is cooling rapidly. According to the Ministry of Data and Statistics on Wednesday, the number of employed people stood at 27.98 million in January, an increase of 108,000 on year. This is a significant slowdown compared to previous months, marking the smallest growth since December 2024.
By sector, the health and social welfare and transportation industries saw job gains. In contrast, the agriculture and public administration sectors shed jobs.
Freezing temperatures reduced activity in the agriculture, forestry, and fishing sectors, which saw jobs plummet by 107,000. This directly impacted older workers. While jobs for those aged 60 and above did increase by 141,000, it was the smallest rise for that age group in 5 years.
As for the rise in unemployment among those aged 60 and older, officials attribute this to a mix of seasonal factors, specifically the cold snap, and delays in the start of government-subsidized senior job programs, which left many older people waiting for work.
But weather isn't the only factor. Core industries remain weak. Manufacturing jobs fell by 23,000 and the construction sector shed another 20,000 jobs, continuing a long streak of decline. Young people are also finding it harder to enter the workforce. The number of workers aged 15 to 29 dropped by 175,000, and the number of people simply resting without seeking work rose by 110,000. This aligns with separate data showing a hiring freeze at major conglomerates. A report by CEO Score reveals that Korea's top 500 companies actually cut their total workforce by over 6,700 last year. More than half of these major firms reduced their headcount. The polarization is distinct. While CJ Olive Young and SK Hynix added thousands of jobs riding the K-beauty and semiconductor boom, traditional giants struggled. LG Electronics and retail leaders including E-Mart and Lotte Shopping cut thousands of positions, and even Samsung Electronics saw its workforce shrink by over 1,000. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
The Health Ministry has announced a finalized plan to expand medical school admissions, a move that's facing strong backlash from doctors' groups. The government says it will gradually raise the quota over the next 5 years, but the medical community says the measure falls far short of providing a real solution to address shortages in regional and essential healthcare. Our An Sung-jin explains more.
South Korea has finalized its medical school quota increase after a prolonged dispute since 2024. The government has put forth a 5-year plan to increase medical school admissions starting from the 2027 academic year to address regional and public healthcare shortages. Following a meeting by the Health and Medical Policy Deliberation Committee on Tuesday, the Health Ministry says that enrollment will, on average, increase by 668 students per year from 2027 to 2031. adding up to a total of 3,342 students over the next 5 years. The government is emphasizing that it's a gradual increase to avoid strain on medical education.
The committee has decided to implement the medical personnel expansion in stages, taking into account medical school education capacity, as well as the establishment of public and regional medical schools.
All additional places will be allocated to 32 medical schools outside the capital region and will supplement the regional doctor track, which requires graduates to work in their hometown for 10 years in an effort to strengthen local and essential healthcare services. The ministry said it will provide full support through residency and regional settlement. Compared to the previous administration's plan to add 2,000 students annually over 5 years starting in 2024, the scale of the current expansion has been reduced to roughly one-third of that. The Korea Medical Association criticized the plan immediately during an emergency press conference. It argued that the government's workforce projections lacked a basis.
The stated purpose of expanding medical school quotas was to address shortages in regional and essential healthcare, but the measures discussed so far fall short of providing a real solution. There seems to be no significant change from previous proposals.
The expansion of medical school quotas has been the source of intense conflict between the government and doctors since 2024. But with university-specific quotas to be finalized in April, following a review by the Education Ministry, all eyes are on how the medical community will resolve lingering issues. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, President Lee Jae-myung has discussed strengthening security cooperation with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. According to Blue House spokesperson Kim Nam-jun, the two agreed during their phone call on Tuesday to maintain close communication on the war in Ukraine and developments on the Korean Peninsula. He called for more substantive defense industry cooperation through the Korea-NATO Defense Industry Consultative Group, created last year, and Rutte expressed his support. This was their second phone conversation since President Lee took office last June. And North Korea has condemned Japan for expanding its defense export channels after Tokyo signed a defense equipment and technologies to transfer agreement with Canada. In an article published on Wednesday, the North's ruling party's Rodong-Sinmun claimed Japan was moving to form de facto military alliances with NATO members and other regional partners. It wrote that joint drills and the exchange of military supplies were only possible within alliance structures. The state media, however, made no mention of Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi's ruling party winning a landslide election victory on Sunday. South Korea's Unification Minister Chung Dong-young has expressed regret over a recent Pyongyang drone incident, marking the first such statement by a senior government official. Speaking at a Catholic Mass at Myeongdong Cathedral in Seoul on Tuesday, Chung said he conveyed deep regret to North Korea for the incursion. He noted that investigations effectively confirmed that drones were sent to the north by civilians. Chung also claimed that in October 2024, under the Yoon Suk-yeol administration, the military sent drones to North Korea 11 times to provoke a response. He called the moves reckless and dangerous, warning they nearly led to war. The minister urged restoring the September 19 inter-Korea military agreement and halting hostile aerial activities to prevent further tensions. U.S. President Donald Trump is reportedly expressing anger over delays in Japan's promised investments under a bilateral trade deal. The reported frustration comes as Tokyo works to finalize large-scale U.S.-bound investments and sends a top trade official to Washington for talks. Our Lee Soo-jin has more.
U.S. President Donald Trump is reportedly voicing strong dissatisfaction over delays in Japanese investments pledged under last year's trade and tariff agreement. According to a report by Japan's Nikkei newspaper on Tuesday, President Trump has high expectations for Japan's newly elected Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi, but is also frustrated that promised investments into the United States have not moved forward as quickly as expected. The report says Washington privately communicated to Tokyo that the president is furious over issues with Japan even before he publicly expressed support for Takaichi on social media. At the center of the dispute is a pledge by Japan to invest $550 billion in the United States as part of last year's tariff deal. U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick reportedly told President Trump that the first round of investment plans would be finalized by the end of 2025. However, the Nikkei reported that the sheer scale of the projects has slowed planning and coordination. The initial target to reach a concrete agreement was the end of January this year, but that deadline was pushed back to the end of this month. President Trump is said to view the delay with suspicion, reportedly claiming that Japan may be intentionally slowing negotiations. Despite the report, Prime Minister Takaichi has reaffirmed that the U.S.-Japan alliance remains strong and unchanged.
Regarding my upcoming meeting with President Trump, we will reaffirm the unshakable unity between Japan and the United States and further advance Japan-U.S. cooperation across a wide range of fields, including diplomacy, the economy, and security.
Tokyo appears to be moving to ease tensions with Japan's Economy, Trade and Industry Minister Roshei Akazawa, who oversees tariff negotiations, set to visit the United States this week. Kyodo News reports that Akazawa is expected to meet Commerce Secretary Lutnick during the trip, with talks likely to focus on investment timelines and ways to keep the bilateral trade relationship on track. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
The investigation into South Korean e-commerce giant Coupang has confirmed that more than 33 million user accounts were exposed in the company's recent data breach. Our Cho Young-eun reports.
According to the Ministry of Science and ICT on Tuesday, the names and email addresses of 33.67 million users had been leaked from the company's system, which is far more than the initially reported number of 4,500. Officials warned that the actual number of victims could be even higher, as Coupang users often register delivery details for family members and acquaintances.
It has been confirmed that the hackers accessed delivery list pages containing names, phone numbers, delivery addresses, and partially anonymized shared entrance passwords. A total of 148,056,502 times.
According to the Joint Public-Private Investigation Team, attackers gained access to Coupang servers by exploiting vulnerabilities in its authentication system, and were able to bypass normal security procedures by forging digital access passes. However, authorities did not officially disclose the identity of the suspect and key details, including the exact scale of the data leak, with the Personal Information Protection Commission expected to release further findings at a later date. Meanwhile, the investigation team said no secondary damage resulting from the breach has been confirmed so far. According to the ministry, Coupang will be fined for its delayed reporting and placed under formal investigation for failing to preserve key evidence, despite earlier government requests. The ministry said Coupang became aware of the breach at 4 p.m. on November 17, but did not report it to the authorities until 9:35 p.m. on November 19, far exceeding the legally mandated 24-hour reporting deadline. Under South Korean law, such delays are punishable by fines of up to 30 million won, or approximately $20,000. Coupang will also be subject to a separate investigation, as web access logs for a 5-month period in 2024 and application access records from late May to early June 2025 were missing. The government will instruct Coupang later this month to submit measures to prevent similar breaches and will inspect their implementation between June and July. Cho Young-eun, Arirang News.
We're now less than a week away from this year's Lunar New Year holiday, or Seollal, and the cost of holiday foods is in the spotlight. Although expenses can add up, there are more affordable ways to prepare them. Our Park Jun-an tells us more.
As South Korea's Lunar New Year, Seollal, approaches, families are gathering to prepare food for the 차례 table, the ancestral rite table that is a key part of the holiday, featuring a feast of traditional dishes. According to the Seoul Agri-Fisheries and Food Corporation's latest survey on Monday, the average cost of food for a standard 6-7-person 차례 table has risen by at least 4% at traditional markets and large supermarkets. But there is one place where prices have actually fallen more than 4% from last year, making it much cheaper than retail malls. That place is Arirang, located in Seoul. Here, the average cost of food for a Seollal chalet table is 205,510 Korean won, or around 141 US dollars. This is 12.1% cheaper than the average traditional market and a whopping 24.2% cheaper than the average large supermarket. Now, take a look at this chicken. According to Seoul City estimates, prices here are nearly half of what you pay at large supermarkets, based on a standard 1.2 kilogram comparison. For shoppers, this market offers the advantage of seeing and choosing a wide range of items firsthand, from meat and seafood to vegetables and fruit, all at reasonable prices.
I bought some beef and pork. It is cheaper here since it is a wholesale market, and with my children coming over, I plan to make dumplings and prepare a variety of dishes so that we can all eat well together.
And here's how you can save even more money. The mall is running its Onnuri gift certificate event. Shoppers who spend 34,000 won or more will receive a 10,000 won gift certificate, while those who spend 67,000 won or more will get the maximum certificate for 20,000 won. The event will be run from Tuesday through Saturday. As the number of certificates is limited, the earlier you go, the better. Park Junan, Arirang News.
Hello and welcome. I am your AI sports correspondent Arirang. This section features AI-generated content and scripts, bringing you the latest news from the Olympic Winter Games Milano Cortina 2026. Here are our top stories. South Korean figure skater Taejun Hwan advanced to the free skate competition after placing 6th in the men's singles short program on Tuesday at the Milano Ice Skating Arena. Ta earned 92.72 points in the short program after landing a quadruple salto in a triple axel, marking his highest score of the season. This result qualifies him for the free skate, which will determine the overall medalists. Ilya Malinin of the United States leads the field with 108.16 points, followed by Japan's Yuma Kageyama. The combined scores from this short program in the upcoming free skate on Friday will decide the final Olympic standings. South Korea's short track mixed relay team failed to reach the medal final on Tuesday, following a collision in the semifinals. Kim Ki-lee fell after tangling with Kanin Stodod of the United States. Officials rejected a South Korean request for advancement, citing the team's third-place position at the time of the foul. South Korea subsequently placed second in the B final behind the Netherlands to finish 6th overall. Host nation Italy won the gold medal, with Canada and Belgium taking silver and bronze. Following a day of recovery and training on Wednesday, Korea's short track squad will return to the ice on Thursday for the women's 500-meter and the men's 1,000-meter. The International Olympic Committee on Tuesday banned Ukrainian skeleton racer Vladislav Heraskevich from wearing a helmet featuring images of athletes killed in the war with Russia. The IOC ruled that the tribute violates Rule 50 of the Olympic Charter, which bans political demonstrations. Although the committee offered a black armband as a compromise, Heraskevich stated he will wear the helmet during Thursday's competition in Cortina. Arianna Fontana, Italy's most decorated Winter Olympian, added to her medals on Tuesday by leading the host nation to gold in the short track mixed relay. This victory marks Fontana's 12th career medal across 6 Winter Games. Italy finished the 2,000-meter race at the Milano Ice Skating Arena in 2 minutes 39.019 seconds, coming ahead of Canada and Belgium. The win moves Fontana within 1 medal of the all-time Italian Olympic record held by fencer Edoardo Mangiaruti. She returns to the ice this Thursday for the women's 500-meter quarterfinals. Before we head out, let's look ahead. Appearing now on your screen are the current medal standings and the upcoming schedule for the Olympic Winter Games Milano Cortina 2026.
Low visibility due to fog caused headaches for some morning commuters across western regions. And today, temperatures will remain above the season norms, although air quality will be a concern. Ultrafine dust levels will rise to the bad range across most of the country, except for the eastern parts of Gangwon-do province, where dry conditions have persisted, as well as Gyeongsang-do regions. Now, strong winds along the east coast and on Jeju Island will continue, so extra caution is needed to prevent fires. And this afternoon, Seoul will be getting up to 6 degrees Celsius. Gwangju makes it to 8 degrees, Daegu topping out at 10 degrees Celsius. Skies will remain partly cloudy nationwide in the morning, but conditions will gradually clear beginning late this afternoon. Temperatures will stay milder than normal for the season through the end of the week under fairly sunny skies.
That's all we have for today's noon edition of Arirang News. Thank you for watching. We'll be back at 5 p.m. Korea time. Stay tuned.